I've always been quietly obsessed with Chipotle, the way some people are obsessed with old jazz records or vintage cars. It isn't just food, it's a time capsule. When that first location opened in 1993, across from the University of Denver, Steve Ells wasn't trying to build an empire. He was a CIA graduate who fell in love with the mission-style taquerias in San Francisco and thought, I can make burritos so good people will fund my real restaurant. 8 months later, he had enough cash to open a second store and accidentally invented fast casual dining instead. 32 years and more than 3 billion bowls later, something fascinating has happened. The promise, food with integrity, real cooking, ingredients you can pronounce, still hangs in the air like grill smoke. But scale changes things. Some menu items have stayed true to that 1993 spirit and still taste like a revelation. Others, well, they've drifted into territory that would make 1993 Steve quietly shake his head. So today we're pulling back the foil on exactly that. The 5 items that, through no real fault of their own, just don't live up to the original dream anymore. And the 3 orders that still feel like you're eating at that very first location on a perfect Denver afternoon. If you love Chipotle the way I do, stay with me, because by the end of this you'll know exactly how to walk in and order like you've been doing it since the Clinton administration. Let's start with the one that hurts my heart the most. Steak. Steak has a storied place in Mexican cuisine, especially in the form of carne asada, thin slices of beef, often skirt or flank, marinated in citrus, garlic, and spices, then grilled over open flames until charred on the edges but juicy and tender inside. It's the star of backyard barbecues, street tacos, and family fiestas, where the smoke from the grill mingles with laughter, and the sizzle promises something primal and satisfying. Done right, it's got that perfect balance of sear, succulence, and spice. The kind of food that makes you pause mid-bite and appreciate the simple genius of fire and meat. Chipotle's version began with noble intentions, responsibly sourced beef from animals raised without antibiotics or added hormones, marinated in a blend of chipotle peppers, cumin, oregano, and garlic, then grilled in-house to order. In the early days, it could be a highlight, smoky, flavorful, with just enough char to evoke those authentic taqueria vibes. When it's hot off the grill and sliced fresh, it delivers that craveable bite that pairs beautifully with rice, beans, and salsa. But here's where the dream starts to falter: the execution at scale. Steak is grilled in batches throughout the day, but between rushes, it sits in those same warming trays as other proteins, slowly losing its moisture and turning from tender to tough. What should be a quick sear to medium-rare perfection often ends up overcooked or reheated, resulting in chewy, gristly pieces riddled with fat and tendons that make every chew a workout. I've bitten into steak at noon that was flavorful and yielding, only to return at dinner for something that tastes like over-seasoned leather, dry, stringy, and disappointingly inconsistent. It's not malice on Chipotle's part, it's the harsh reality of fast casual demands. Traditional carne asada thrives on immediacy. Marinate, grill, serve hot. But in a high-volume chain slinging thousands of orders daily, prepping and holding steak means compromising on texture. The marinade helps, but it can't mask poor cuts or extended hold times, leading to a protein that often ranks near the bottom in fan polls and blind tastings. And let's talk numbers. You're shelling out a premium, around $11 to $12 for a steak bowl, depending on location, for about 170 calories per serving, with 24 grams of protein but a sodium hit of over 500 milligrams, comparable to other meats. Yet the quality dip makes it feel like a ripoff when chicken delivers more consistency for less. Now here's where it gets really interesting. Steak has its own dramatic saga in Chipotle history, echoing the carnitas crisis but with a food safety twist. Back in late 2015 and into 2016, after a series of E. coli outbreaks rocked the company, linked to contaminated produce and undercooked meats, Chipotle overhauled their protein prep to prioritize safety. For steak, this meant shifting from in-store grilling to a centralized sous vide process where the meat was pre-cooked in bags at low temperatures, then shipped to locations for a final sear. It was a bold move to prevent bacterial issues, but the backlash was swift and savage. Customers complained it tasted bland, rubbery, and like canned meatballs, a far cry from the fresh grilled glory. Social media erupted with memes, Reddit threads overflowed with rants, and sales dipped as loyalists switched to chicken or barbacoa. One viral review even called it the saddest steak in fast food. Chipotle listened, eventually tweaking the recipe and bringing more grilling back in-house by 2017, but the damage lingered. Even today, whispers of that era persist, with some locations still struggling with consistency due to varying grill skills or rush hour shortcuts. The redemption felt partial at best. The steak improved, but it never fully recaptured that pre-crisis magic, leaving fans to wonder if safety came at too high a flavor cost. If you're a steak devotee, ordering it at Chipotle is still a roll of the dice, hinging on timing, the store's volume, and even the cut of meat that day. Life's too short for chewy regrets when more reliable options like chicken await, grilled fresh and foolproof. And life is too short for roulette when there are better proteins waiting. Speaking of menu items with a dramatic past, let's talk Queso Blanco. Cheese dip has been part of northern Mexican and Tex-Mex culture for decades, but Chipotle famously resisted adding it for years. Steve L. said real Mexican taquerias didn't have orange cheese sauce, and he didn't want to compromise the menu. Then in 2017, corporate pressure won, and they launched a queso that, well, let's just say the internet was unkind. It was grainy. It separated. It had cornstarch and something called natamycin, a mold inhibitor, and tasted like disappointment with a side of existential dread. The backlash was so intense that Chipotle actually pulled it, went back to the kitchen, and 2 years later relaunched as Queso Blanco. 13 real ingredients: Monterey Jack, white cheddar, serrano, poblano, and chipotle peppers. No artificial flavors or preservatives. And you know what? The new version is legitimately pretty good when it's fresh, holding time. After a couple hours under heat lamps, even real cheese starts to break. The oils separate, the texture goes slightly grainy, and the salt, there's a staggering amount of sodium in there, becomes the dominant note instead of the peppers and cheese. At almost $3 for a side portion, it's a gamble. Some days you get molten gold. Other days you get expensive, salty mush that overpowers everything else in your bowl. I will say this, the reformulated Queso Blanco is one of corporate America's rare genuine redemption arcs. But redemption doesn't mean perfection, and when I'm spending my own money, I'd rather spend those calories and dollars on extra guacamole that I know will be perfect every single time. In 2013, Chipotle wanted a plant-based protein that could stand toe-to-toe with meat. They worked with culinary students in California and landed on organic tofu braised in a smoky chipotle tomato sauce with roasted poblanos and spices. When it launched in 2014, it was revolutionary. Finally, vegetarians and vegans had something that wasn't just bowl with no meat, please. Early reviews were glowing, but something happened as Sofritas scaled nationwide. The texture changed. Instead of firm cubes that held up to the braise, it started arriving at restaurants pre-crumbled, almost shredded, then cooked again on site until it turned soft and, frankly, a bit mushy. The sauce is still tasty, but the overall experience is more spicy wet crumbles than satisfying protein. It's the only Chipotle protein that consistently ranks at the bottom of customer surveys for texture. And the numbers don't lie. You get about 8 grams of protein per serving compared to 32 grams from chicken. You're paying full meat price for something that leaves most people still hungry an hour later. Sofritas feels like a dish that lost its way somewhere between the test kitchen and 2,800 locations. Chipotle's guacamole is legitimately one of the best fast food guacamoles on earth. Hand-mashed daily, perfectly lime-bright, chunky in all the right ways. The crime isn't the guacamole. The crime is what they pair it with and how they price it. The chips are fried in-house in rice bran oil, which sounds fancy until you realize they often come out oversalted, slightly limp, or tasting faintly of whatever oil has been the fryer since lunch rush. And the portion math is brutal. You get a small mountain of chips and exactly enough guacamole to cover maybe half of them. The rest of the bag becomes expensive salted cardboard. For roughly $6, depending on your market, you could add guacamole to your actual entree and get a drink. Instead, you're buying what is essentially movie theater pricing for something you'll finish in 4 minutes and immediately wish you had more of. It's the only Chipotle item that consistently makes people say, "Why did I do that?" And finally, the order that single-handedly betrays everything Chipotle once stood for, the fully loaded burrito. Picture this: double rice, double beans, double meat, cheese, sour cream, queso, guacamole, corn salsa, hot salsa, lettuce, basically everything except the kitchen sink wrapped in a tortilla the size of a small planet. In the early 2000s, this was peak college food. You'd stumble out of a morning 9, lecture, spend $8, and have a 1,400-calorie torpedo that kept you full until dinner. It felt rebellious and glorious. Today, that same order can push 1,800 to 2,200 calories and over 3,000 milligrams of sodium. The tortilla can't hold it. Chipotle actually trains employees to use 2 tortillas for big orders now, and you end up eating most of it with a fork out of the basket anyway. What was once joyful abundance now feels excessive. Your body spends the rest of the day trying to process the salt and dairy bomb you just dropped on it. There's a reason Steve Ells originally wanted lighter, brighter California-style food. The fully loaded burrito is what happens when that vision collides with American portion culture, and the burrito loses. But here's the beautiful part. When Chipotle gets it right, nothing else comes close. Let me take you back to that original 1993 ethos. Fresh ingredients, real cooking, balance. These 3 orders are what happen when you honor that instead of fighting it. First, the bowl I order 90% of the time, what I call the smart chicken bowl. Start with brown rice or half brown rice / half lettuce if you're watching carbs, black beans, chicken, fajita veggies, tomato salsa, and a light sprinkle of cheese or guacamole, but never both. This is Chipotle at its absolute peak. The chicken is still marinated in that same adobo from the 90s and grilled fresh all day, so it stays juicy and smoky no matter when you show up. Combined with beans, it makes a complete protein. The fajita veggies are free and add sweetness and crunch. Tomato salsa brings acid and brightness without drowning everything in sodium. The whole bowl lands around 700 calories with almost 50 grams of protein and enough fiber to keep you full for hours. It's bright, it's balanced, and it tastes like summer. Visual, slow, loving assembly of this exact bowl. Second, the most underrated item on the entire menu, the Barbacoa Supergreens salad bowl. Barbacoa is Chipotle's quiet masterpiece. Beef slow braised with garlic, cumin, cloves, and chipotle until it falls apart into deeply flavorful shreds. It's the closest thing on the modern menu to traditional Mexican barbacoa, wrapped in maguey leaves and cooked underground. Build it on the Supergreens mix or romaine, add black beans, fajita veggies, tomato salsa, and maybe the tiniest bit of cheese. You end up with a massive restaurant-quality salad for a regular Chipotle price, around 550 to 650 calories with over 40 grams of protein. The meat is so flavorful, it doesn't need heavy dressing. This is the order that makes people who don't like salad change their minds. And my personal number 1, the order that feels like I'm gaming the system in the best possible way, the half and half chicken bowl. Ask for half cilantro lime rice, half Supergreens as your base. Then chicken, black beans, fajita veggies, tomato salsa, and your choice of one indulgence, either cheese or guacamole. That's it. The genius is the base. You still get the comfort and flavor of the rice without overloading on carbs, and the greens add volume and freshness so the bowl feels enormous. You'll hit around 750 calories with 45 plus grams of protein, perfect macros, and you'll feel energized instead of stuffed. Every time I eat this, I think, this is what Steve Ells imagined in 1993. What's wild is how clearly the pattern emerges. The items that disappoint are the ones that suffer most from scale. Proteins that don't hold well, add-ons that overwhelm, portions that spiral out of control. The items that still sing are the ones closest to Chipotle's original California Korea soul: grilled chicken, slow-braised beef, loads of vegetables, bright salsas, just enough indulgence to feel human. Chipotle isn't perfect. Prices have climbed, portions sometimes shrink, but the magic is still there if you know where to look. If this little trip through Chipotle's past and present resonated with you, if you found yourself nodding along or already planning your next order, consider subscribing to the Food Prestige for more every week. I'm just getting started telling these stories, and I'd love to have you along for the ride.